Alex, unmute yourself and let's call this meeting to order.
Well, this is a wonderful opportunity. I thank you all for dedicating some time in the evening of your personal time to do Rotary business, which is near and dear to my heart, the Rotary Foundation. And I want to thank George in advance for all the great work he's done to prepare our agenda for tonight and to help set the table for what I think will be an exciting project fair. We have done something similar from time to time, but it's not something we do every year. So maybe we'll think about making it an annual tradition around this time, because there are a lot of demands on district designated funds. And to be fair to all the clubs that have project ideas, I wanted to make sure that all those project ideas were aired at the same time, so that every club that was interested in going shopping would have the maximum choice for things they may want to consider contributing to. And you can certainly split your DDF 2 or 3 or 4 ways if you want. So by no means do you have to pick one project. You may choose, or none of these. You're not under any obligation to use your DDF for anything, but hopefully you'll find some exciting projects here tonight. So without further ado, George, why don't we get started?
Well, welcome everyone. I'm going to, the first part of this is to review 3 existing grants. They're fully funded and they're in process. First of all, these 3 happen to highlight different issues that you will run into as you do a grant. These are fully funded grants. They're in process now. They're at various stages. All of them are either ready to close out or be closing out this year. Let me just talk about the first one. I'll talk later about Ethiopia, but this was the high school classrooms building that College Park Club, in conjunction with Advent Health's Foundation and the Club of Addis Ababa Arada in Ethiopia, funded 4 high school classrooms to a school that ended their schooling at the 10th grade. So it allowed, at the same school in the same neighborhood, for kids to stay in high school instead of having to go 4 or 5 miles away to the next school. The project got started right before the pandemic. It became very difficult to process the construction. And so at this point, the classrooms are completed. The first classroom, the 11th grade attended in the fall of 2020, and the 12th grade will be entering this year. There is some part of the project still remaining. That includes an art room and an eating area. They got further delayed by the COVID. I'll tell you that in this particular project, and in many projects, you have a mid-project evaluation. It was done by remote, by virtual. Our evaluator came from Uganda, and I participated on behalf of our club, and most of the activity was with the club that's managing the project there. In event, the project ended up being $92,728 total. About half of it came from DDF and a little bit from contributions. It's going through. We expect it to finish later this year, and we'll file our final report coming in next year. With that, let me call on Sanjay.
All right. So this first project was a COVID-19 response project, global grant number 2001486 was one of the early ones that application was started. Under the new rules that were put in for COVID, where no international contribution was required. So this project aimed to provide 4 ventilators for the Ramnath Government Medical College Hospital ICU. This is in southern India. Area of focus was disease prevention and treatment. The host was the Ramnath Royals Rotary Club. And we were the international sponsor. Lake Nona launch. We didn't have to do anything but to sign on as a sponsor, which unlocked the matching funds, World Fund match for the cash and DDF that club and the district had provided. The application was started in April 2020, but the district could not give any DDF until after the new year, which was July 1, 2020. And then the project got approved in August 2020. The budget was $35,000 with a World Fund match of $15,000 on cash and DDF for $10,000 each. The international cash contribution, although not required, there was one donor in the US who wanted to contribute $1,000. That was done through our club. The project was dedicated on November 24, 2020. On the right side of my screen, here you will see the invitation that was provided. At the top of the invitation, the two clubs were listed, and Rotary Club of Lake Nona Lunch was highlighted in there. The project benefits about 1,000 people in the surrounding communities. I'm going on to the next page, which shows on the upper left-hand side, the head table. At the inauguration or dedication ceremony, the 4 controllers for the ventilators, these are Philips Respironics Trilogy 2002 ventilators, which were purchased with a 7-year maintenance contract. There was a ribbon tied around this 4 ventilators at the head table, and in the lower picture on the right-hand side, which is a newspaper coverage in English of the dedication ceremony, the chief guest, notice this was in November 2020, everyone was wearing masks, and the chief guest cut the ribbon around the 4 ventilators as a symbol of accepting the ventilators on behalf of the hospital. The ventilators saved many lives during the second wave, the dreadful second wave India had in April of 2021. The interim report for the project has been submitted, so the project is in good standing. It will be completed soon. They had the dedication ceremony on Zoom. It was at 1 o'clock at night, East Coast time, but I did participate in it, stayed up for it. So it was great fun, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to save lives in India.
Benjamin, you're up next.
Good evening, everyone. I also want to congratulate George, and especially on his technical abilities that he has shown.
Thank you, my technical ability. Thank you. My grandson does not agree with you.
Okay. The ongoing project is the Guajira Water Desalination Project. As you remember, this project was carried out between the clubs of Bogota, Occidente, and Mainland Rotary to serve a population of about 3,000 people located in a town way up in the north of Colombia, close to the Venezuela border. The purpose is the project is to convert salty water extracted from a well right next to the ocean shore into potable drinking water that will not only serve the community, but especially to the student population of about 700 infants. To develop this project, the Bogota Occidente Club worked in cooperation with some governmental institutions, the Colombian Army, a package carrier, and a road contractor. Both clubs were responsible for the entire project, and especially with the international project. I've been in touch with them almost at least once a week. This project started like something like in June 2020. Okay. Now, the budget was presented to different items, including transportation, personal trips, and so on. The budget was set at 37,585. Cash from private donors in Colombia were 11,100. Host Club District cash, 3,105. DDFs, including my club and some of the district 61, 69, 80 clubs, 18,140, and the World Fund, 15,242. Problem. I want you to listen to this. One of the big sponsors left in the middle of everything because they say that the sales dropped and they could not honor that commitment. That caused a big void in the financing and was stalling the project. So these people over there were very creative because they have to replace cash. If they wanted to redo the budget, we have to resubmit the grant and go through the entire paperwork and so on. We didn't want to do that. So they even sold bottles of water to big donors, $10 per bottle with a very nice label saying you're contributing to this project and so on. Okay, they did a lot of things. Eventually, we came to missing $2,300, and that was also a big problem until the foundation came about, Siemens Foundation, and I have some friends here in the Orlando Siemens organization, and we all work out just to ask them to contribute. And I want to tell you the good news. Today, they deposited the amount that was required. So now what we have to do is take a picture of the bank statement and then show to Rotary International that we have the money and we will expect the World Fund to contribute the $15,000. So once we have the money, the project will be completed in no more than 4 months. So that is the good news. And I want to thank you, these clubs, for the contribution. Lake Nona Lunch, Orlando, Avalon, and the Villages Noon. Thank you so much. Thank you to you.
Thank you, Benjamin. And while you've heard these three, let me point out, I think I could probably see my point. In the case of the Ethiopia project, about all of it was funded by DDF from our district and other districts. The World Fund matched that pretty much with a little bit of cash contribution from our club. In the Sanjay's project, that project, as you see, has a very high cash contribution relative to the project, but it also did not, it was a COVID project, so they did not require international club participation and host club participation. The third one here that Benjamin had, notice here that you had a major contribution from non-Rotarian sources. I think a lot of us forget that, you know, there's other people out there that would like to help us in projects. And if we can access those non-Rotarian sources, that's, I won't say it's free money, but it spends, you know. And also on a relative basis, notice that the DDF relative to the overall project was less than the DDF needed on the other two projects and way less than the one in Ethiopia. The point of this is there's several ways to skin a cat in these projects, and all of them can be massaged and done and can be a combination of DDF and cash, and as Benjamin has done so well, even cash outside of Rotary. We'll now hear about projects that are in process. These projects are at some stage of draft. Some of them are beyond that a little bit. They are seeking your input and perhaps support, and also probably seeking support from other places. The first one we're going to hear from is from Sharing Smiles.
Okay, I'll just kind of start about how my involvement as far as the Cleft Lip Cleft Palate program started back in 2016. It was my first year. I was asked, since I am a nurse and I am an active nurse, I keep up my license. I am not, I am a retired nurse, but I keep up my license. And I was asked to take part in the project of going to Tarapoto, Peru, a very poor area of South America, and take part in the actual cleft lip and cleft palate program. So I just wanted to know that it's made a significant effect on my life. I've been a nurse for some 54 years now, and I'll tell you, there is never a project that I have been involved with in all of these years that's touched me more than the cleft lip cleft palate program. One of the things I did while I was in the military is I worked in the recovery room. And so that's what I did while I was in Tarapoto. For 16, 17, and 18, those 3 years, I worked in the recovery room, and I got to see firsthand the response from family members when they see this child that they took into the operating room. And when they came in the recovery room to see them after surgery, they didn't even recognize their own child. If you don't think that this makes a significant emotional event in the family and the child, it's breathtaking to see this happen. And just to let you know that this whole project did not take place as a result of just a few people wanting to be part of the medical team, because in order for this to happen, it takes a tremendous amount of support from other clubs. Our funding, we were fortunate enough to have 27 Rotary clubs in our district, in District 6980, who took part and donated some of their DDF money, raising a total of $82,000. And in addition to that, Rotary International matched it. So we had $164,000, which was a large amount of money. And we've been able to go back to Tarapoto for 4 different trips, and part of a 5th. And what we're looking at now is we're looking at Bolivia to do something very similar in Bolivia. So clubs do not have to give a lot of money. You've got some very small clubs, but they have DDF money that they would like to put towards a good project. And believe me, the cleft lip, cleft palate program that exists in South America, especially in Peru, all over South America. It's 3 times more prevalent in South America than it is here in our country. I can remember when I was a student nurse, I worked at Boston Children's Hospital, and one of the places I worked while I was there was the cleft lip, cleft palate ward. So I got to see our country's approach to cleft lip and cleft palate very early in my. But I'll tell you, it's a significant emotional event for me personally that I've been able to work with a Rotary Club in Tarapoto. These people, there's 15 to 17 members of that club, but they provide food, shelter, clothing, I mean, just about everything for the children and the family while they're waiting for surgery. So I just want you all to know that if your club is looking for a place to make their donation for a worthy cause, the cleft lip and cleft palate program in Tarapoto and Bolivia coming up in the future, Bolivia is in need of funds. So I just want everybody to know how clinically it takes a big team to do this program. Physicians, nurses, therapists, dentists, interpreters, and the team is fairly large, but it takes all of these different people to coordinate with the family members and with the Rotary Club of Tarapoto to make sure that everything is taken care of for these children and families prior to, during, and after they have their surgery. So believe me, when you see a child that you're working on, and this child was thrown into a dumpster when he was a baby by his parents, and a relative took that child out of the dumpster and ended up actually adopting the child. And I got to see that young man while I was in Peru. on 2 different occasions because he needed several surgeries. He had a double cleft lip and double cleft palate. So it's taken quite a few years for him to receive his medical care. So believe me, when you see things like that happen, it has a major impact on your life. So I've been very fortunate that I was able to be put together. Ruth and all of the work that she and Dick Phoebus did to raise funds for this project made it happen, and it has changed lives forever. These children would have never had an opportunity. That 15-year-old boy whose goal in life had never had surgery, his goal in life was to kiss a girl, and he could not do that his whole life until he had his surgery. So believe me, it does have an impact. So Ruth, you're on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. So the project that Paul is referencing is going to be in Bolivia. We did a cleft lip and palate vocational training team in 2017. And when we did it in 2017, Rotary sent a doctor from the cadre of technical advisors with us to Bolivia. And she interviewed the parents and the doctors and the social services department. And she said, you know, the only thing is you need to do this on a multi-year basis, because that's what the need is. So these are children before and after Rotary. So I want you to feel the impact of how different these children's lives are, because their parents never heard of Advent Health, but they saw that golden wheel of Rotary. And that's how they knew that this was going to be something good. This is why they trust their tiny babies to the surgeons, because they see that Rotary wheel and they know that Rotary changes children forever. And that's just the beauty of it all. So like George said, we did have some challenges. Some of those challenges, when Dick and I originally submitted the grant, they didn't approve it because we didn't have a date to travel, because Bolivia was experiencing problems with political unrest. Mm-hmm. So we brought it back and then we submitted it again, but they ran out of DDF. So instead of the 80%, 100%, they were only giving us 80%. So that's why now we're back trying to make that up between the cash match that we missed out on because of the political unrest, and then the 100% DDF match that we missed out on because of the Rotary Foundation. And what Paul is doing is not just, this is one surgery, but what Rotary is doing is pulling together year-round multidisciplinary teams. Mm-hmm. And that's what Rotary is doing. And that's what makes this work. It's not us 1 week, it's you, the other 51 weeks of the year, making sure these children get the care that they need and that they deserve. So please, remember that you're the heroes in this year. So we would appreciate any support. Thank you very much.
Ruth, do you want to give us a brief report on any of the other projects?
Brief. Okay, in Merida, the Merida grant is being led by the Rotary Club of Winter Park. We have a tentative trip set up for December 4 to 11, which will be 2 operating rooms. And if we can't go, we're going to offer supplies and medication. Tarapoto is a new grant that was approved with another district. We have a trip scheduled November 6 to 13. We're waiting for the Ministry of Health authorization. We'll be training a new surgeon in Tarapoto. Villa Hermosa, which is being run by Dick's Club and Paul's Club, the trip was initially canceled, but we're going to try to do a 3-day, 2 operating room campaign at a private clinic. And again, if we're not able to go, we're planning to fund those. Bolivia right now is in lockdown due to a new wave of COVID. But we have funded 150 surgeries by the local team, the gentleman that we helped train, and we're hopeful for a 2022 trip. So that's what's going on with those cleft trips. If anybody has questions, just put them in the chat. I don't want to take anybody else's time, but thank you guys. You're amazing.
Thank you, Ruth. And that's a good suggestion. If you've got specific questions, put them in the chat. Alex is covering the chat. And next up is Benjamin's project.
Okay, here we are now working on another project in conjunction with the Rotary Club of Cali Norte. It's about a children's center outfitting. this is the purchase of equipment and some other things for these children of an early age. And as you can see, this is South America, Colombia, and the city of Cali. And all these kids and families live in this hillside of one of the mountains close to the city of Cali. These are children that mostly their families were chased at gunpoint from their farmlands. This is one of the biggest social problems that Colombia is encountering now. The narcos, guerrillas, and gangs of all kinds, they want to seize land, and they want to plant coca, and they want as much land as possible to get close to the shores, especially of the Pacific Ocean, in order to put their merchandise in submarines. They don't have that technique now. Okay, and then also through air, they go to Central America, Mexico, and then to the US. Okay, so these kids, they are now living in a standard conditions, and they need a lot of work in nutritional problems. They have a prevalence of neurological and sensory disabilities, so they need a lot of help. This Gera Foundation is one of a chain that the Colombian government is establishing throughout the country to help raise these kids. Yes, and they also provide all that list that you see here in instruments, so audiometer, everything, precise printer, and everything, dotation for an office. Okay, so there's a chronogram already established. I keep in touch with these people, almost as I said, with them about once a week. This is the Cali Norte Club. This is where I was born, to Rotary. I spent a couple of years there before I came to the US and joined the Mainland Club. So I know these people. I went on vacation and I met with the entire group there. They talked to me about this. Okay, now to make it short, this is what we are doing. This is what we are working on right now. The budget is $30,300. The club contributed $3,833 plus $800 cash donations from local sources. We are looking for $12,555 in DDFs from this district and perhaps some other districts. $13,110 from the World Fund. So this is where we stand right now. We are just beginning to approach some of your clubs, and I really appreciate if you can help us to do this. Yes, I am asking you to please contribute. I sent out a few emails with all the information, and I appreciate if you let me know if you can contribute. There is also a YouTube, in the emails that I've sent, a YouTube link where you can see about 3 or 4 minutes demonstrating how these kids live and are cared for in this Gera Foundation. Thank you.
Next, we have 2 projects from Lake Nona Lunch.
Thanks, George, for inviting us to come tonight. Our project's working with a local group, the Lifeboat Project, which provides wraparound services for mothers and children who have been human trafficked. During COVID-19, there's been a huge increase of services that are needed at the Lifeboat Project. Central Florida ranks number 3rd in the nation per capita in human trafficking right here in Central Florida. We are working and continue to work with our law enforcement partners actively here in Central Florida. Just about a month ago, we had a case that we worked where a mother was kidnapped with her 2 children, being held hostage in a hotel room. We worked with 3 jurisdictional different groups with law enforcement, from the FBI to the Homeland Security Investigations, traffic enforcement, and local police department, to have that victim rescued out of this hotel room to bring herself and her 2 children to our safe house. Currently, we have one 14-bed safe house that's at capacity, and we have 2 transitional houses that are also LGBTQ. We have 18 survivors that we're caring for on a daily basis. Out of those 18 survivors, currently we have 8 that are in college as of January. 3 of those survivors are on the dean's list with a 4.0 average. So not only are we helping to rescue and help these women with their children, we're also giving them some life skills that they need to carry on with a productive life and try to help integrate them back into some type of normalcy. Our survivors that we're working with now, I mean, I'm just going to say it, they've been brutalized. These women have been brutalized since they were very young girls. We have survivors that have been trafficked since they were 11. Some have been trafficked since they're 14. It's the only thing that they know how to do. So us being able to help them provide skills, lifelong skills, we're very proud of that. The facilities that we have currently, we really need some upgrades. We need, they need to be handicap accessible. We need to have security systems that are absolutely going to provide the protection that the survivors need. We're in need of transportation. We need a van. The ladies and the children need to go to appointments. We have therapy appointments, dental appointments, medical appointments, appointments with attorneys and law enforcement agencies. And we don't have any transportation. Right now, we're doing this by ourselves with our own personal vehicles. So that is something that we really, really need to do here in the Lifeboat Project. And we service 5 counties. Not only those 5 counties, but we have other counties that will call. We are the only safe house that will take a woman and her children that's been trafficked. They're not even allowed to go to a domestic abuse shelter. So I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. We're setting a world-class model right now. We've partnered with Sheriff Lim in Seminole County. We're going to be working with the Hope and Healing, because Lifeboat Project is not a drug program. We need some resources when we do have survivors that have come in that have been pumped full of drugs, that there's going to be an opportunity for them to go and receive the appropriate care. So we're glad to be partnered with Hope and Healing as well, to see if we can do a joint venture, which I think is great for all the grants we're trying to do in Central Florida, especially with Hope and Healing. One thing that we're going to talk about is the budget. We're looking at $100,000. We're going to need at least $40,000 through our DDF here, and Jill Cohen and I will be going out. Jill Cohen's on the call as well. We're going to be going out to the clubs and trying to scurry up that $40,000 for us to try to improve our safe houses, because that's one thing we have to do. Also, too, our host clubs will be reaching out to several clubs overseas for partnership and cash with DDF. Lifeboat, we're going to raise our own cash and in-kind donations for this project. We know that Jill cannot be on the committee. We want to avoid any type of conflict of interest. And also several TRF cadre members have enthusiastically supported this resettlement project after many awareness projects in the past. And like I said, Jill and I will be going out into the community, not only asking for DDF funds, but we'll be looking for private donations as well. And I know we have a lot of projects and everybody is in need. There's no doubt, everybody that's on here tonight, there is a need to try to help individuals. But I have to tell you, the women and children that we're bringing through in our project right now, our heart just goes out to them. We just, it's a Rotary moment. Much like you were talking about, Paul, when you see a family together and you have a mother and children that don't have to worry about being kidnapped or don't have to worry about being trafficked in the back of a van, or they have some hope for life. So we thank you tonight for letting us be here. We also wanted to say too, we've partnered with the Orlando International Airport. To date, we've done over 25 awareness and training sessions at the Orlando Airport for all their staff. There's over 15,000 employees there. so they can be aware of human trafficking, what the signs are, what they need to do if they see someone that's being trafficked. We've partnered with the Orlando International Airport Police Unit, with Customs and Border Patrol, with the Federal Air Marshal. So we're making a lot of movement in the community to raise awareness, but we also need those funds to help support this program that we're continuing to do. That in reality, we have 18 survivors every day that we're responsible for. We've also partnered recently with the film, JC Films Company. We're going to be doing a documentary here in Central Florida, true life stories from our survivors. We're going to be co-producers. And of course, we're going to be giving our District 6980 credit for that. And we'll start filming in the end of August. Movie project should be done, we hope, by November. And we also have the actor Dean Cain, who is going to graciously donate his time and his skills to be our superstar in that documentary. So please stay in tune. We'll keep you posted how the movie's going. And we thank you for our time tonight. Jill, if you're on, if you'd like to say a few words, please take over.
I do want to touch a little bit on, I know Hope and Healing from my club is also here from Seminole South, but in meeting with Sheriff Lima, you know, I would say that 85% of the sex trafficking victims are pumped full of drugs. And there really is, you know, there's not that adequate care that they need. Ruth Advent Help has reached out to us, and we're just so excited to potentially have a partnership with them. They were excited to know that we wanted to work with Hope and Healing. So it's really all coming together. And I think as Rotarians, we should really be proud of the work that we're doing. You know, to be picked to be in this movie it's a really big deal. And Dean Cain said when he flew in last week, he said, you know, Jill, I really did my research into, you know, what's going on here. And he says, it's incredible, this agency. And we've been going on for about 10 years now. And it's amazing how it's coming together. And really it's with the help of Rotarians and our community stepping up and collaborating together. That's how we get it done.
Sonia and maybe Sanjay, do you anticipate this to be a global grant or some other kind of funding project? Because for a global grant, you'll need an international partner.
Yes, this will be a global grant. We've reached out to several clubs. They're all interested. We needed to get this proposal done for the district, and then we'll share this with them and get their commitment and sponsorship. It will be a global grant.
We not only have sex trafficking survivors, we also have labor trafficking survivors. We have 5 countries represented at the Lifeboat Project. One of our survivors, which is on an international huge case that you've probably seen on television, she is a doctor from India. So, you know, traffickers don't discriminate. If they can go for a vulnerable person, then that's what they're going for. People with disabilities, veterans. We have to, as a community and as a nation, we've got to stay on top of this because you can't stick your head in the sand. It's happening.
Lake Nona Lunch has another global grant proposal. This is kind of different from routine global grant projects in that it is almost entirely funded by a directed gift to the Rotary Foundation, requesting that a project that has already been completed be extended. Global Grant 1990-138 has completed 56 pediatric cardiac surgeries. These are kids who are born with congenital heart defects, and they need to be fixed as early in their life as possible so their development can continue and they can have a meaningful life. It supports a Government of India program where the government picks up 50% of the cost if any NGO such as Rotary comes forward to fund the other 50%. And it is required to be provided for poor people. So when this project was completing the 56 cardiac surgery, a donor associated with it, I'm not sure if it's a Rotarian donor or a non-Rotarian donor, came up with another $30,000 and challenged the district to put in another $5,000 so it can get matched with $5,000 and do at least 40 surgeries. Now we have one more donor that Lake Nona has identified, the same one who funded the ventilator project, who said he'll give $1,000 through the Lake Nona Lunch Club. So we can do 41 surgeries. Now what has happened is the district, the Rotary Foundation, is not providing 100% match anymore. It's only 80% match. But we can work this with additional DDF either from India or maybe even our clubs to get it to 40 plus surgeries. The project is otherwise funded. Any additional DDF that comes in, $540 with the 80% match, will fund another surgery. So while we are pushing for DDF to be given to the human trafficking project, the Helping Hand project, there are some clubs who are particularly motivated by giving for pediatric cardiac surgeries. We will happily welcome the $540. There is, again, because it's a directed gift project, you're not required to have international match, nor are we required to get a World Fund match. So that 15% requirement is also not required, but that's going away anyway. So all we are saying is this project will go through, the application will be submitted in August this year, and hopefully will be approved quickly. And if you want to become a part of that, $540 in DDF transferred will carry out one more pediatric surgery. The picture on the right is a picture of some people, some kids who've already been operated on. And this project, the 1990-138 project, was interrupted by COVID-19, but they resumed it in November. And as of May, all of the 56 surgeries have been completed. I'm happy to answer any questions on either of these two proposals. If not, we can communicate individually. I know Jill and Sonia will be knocking on your doors soon.
Thank you, Sanjay. This is an interesting project because, as Sanjay points out, here's a direct point where your DDF of $540 is then matched with $400, I guess, of global fund, and creates $1,000 and creates one more surgery. So if you had 5 times that, you'd have 5 more surgeries. It's very kind of a direct result. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more of that. Thank you, Sanjay.
George, while you're queuing up, if I could just
sure.
ask Sanjay, could we? I'm wondering if the heart surgeries could be paired with an individual. We don't need names and all that kind of stuff, but that way, if a club wished to donate $540 or even an individual, they could have somebody who we could get reports back when their surgery has taken place and if it was successful and all that sort of thing. I think it would be nicely packaged that way.
Yeah, Barry, thank you for that question. 540 in DDF would get the 80% World Fund match. So if it has to be done by cash, then we need $960.
That's true, yeah. But I'm seeing even a club could sponsor 1 or 2 or 10 young people at $540 a piece with their DDF. But I think just being able to tie them to an individual, whether they know the name or not, that's not relevant, but so that there's a tracking of that, I think would be very helpful.
Absolutely can be tracked and reported to the donor.
I've talked to you already about the classrooms we built at the Kalala Learning Village in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So this is not kind of the next step. As you can imagine, and particularly this is true in what we've gone through in the COVID, where we've all jumped ahead about 4 or 5 years or maybe more in technology. We've been asked, we asked over there what was the next thing we could do. And we were encouraged to think about providing computers for those high school classrooms. So this is a global grant. It's in draft form now. You'll be hearing some more about this from myself and Ruth and others. We will have completed these classrooms. We've already completed the classrooms, and we'll complete the project later this fall. And this project is a $47,000 project to outfit these two classrooms, or these 4 classrooms for 2 grades with a computer system. The school, and I talked to you about this a little more earlier, has been up in business over 20 years. It began with a few students. As you see, the enrollment is now over 1,000. It's in the outskirts of Addis Ababa, out near the airport, if you've been to Addis Ababa. In 2015 and 16, grades 9 and 10 were added. That was a great help. And what we did through our Rotary grant so far was add grade 11, which opened in 2020, and grade 12, which will open them this fall. Our partnership here is with the host club in Addis, is the Addis Ababa Rotary Club. I'll show you a picture of them in a minute. Florida Hospital's Global Missions Initiative, and of course the Rotary Club of College Park is the local is our international partner here. Did I jump ahead to the wrong deal? Yeah, went that way. This is a point that I'm going to make on behalf of all these participants, is if you're doing a global grant, it is critical that you have an established and experienced and a enthusiastic local partner in the country. This is a picture taken a couple of years ago, I guess now, with the Addis Ababa Rotary Club. You'll see Ruth in the front there. She's also there. There's Ruth. And then this is Ruth's boss, and this is the founder of the club, or founder of the project. But the rest of that is the Addis Ababa Rotary Club, and I have worked with them, and I will tell you they are highly competent. They are very diligent, and the way Rotary works, you can only do these projects throughout the world to have people on the ground that can do the project, can manage the project, and they're doing a great job. Now, some would say they're too specific. They want too many specific things, and I listen to all those complaints that I hear and sit back and understand that means the project's being done correctly, and when we finally file the final report, it'll be well received. So that's just my commercial to tell you that kind of due diligence and experience with the club in the host country is very, very important. And we happen to have picked a club that, even though it's a new club, and as you see, a very young club, they have done a terrific job.
George, if I just can interject, that we're very excited that the government is in the process of providing high-speed internet access to the area. So it will be very easy to network these computers. And when this club decided to do this project, they were a brand new club, and this has helped them to grow their club. Now they're doing all kinds of, what do you call this? Like a career fair out at the school, and it has really energized their club. It's so exciting to see this club of very young Rotarians just growing as a result of this project. And we're so grateful to Rotary again for this.
If you're interested in knowing more about this club, you've got Ruth that'd be happy to make a presentation, and I would be happy to make a presentation. And that lets me tell all the people on this call that if you're looking for programs, particularly over the summer when it's hard to get programs, we are showing you probably 8 or 10 terrific programs for your club to hear about and know. So let's move next to Lake County Golden Triangle Club. Bill Lowry.
We have an interesting situation here with the Golden Triangle Club. Young Rotarian, a newish Rotarian, came to me and to Janet Westlake, my colleague in the Rotary Club Golden Triangle, and said, I have an idea for a project that you guys might be interested in. Well, as it turned out, this guy has been living in Lake County for 27 years, but he was born in the Philippines, and friends in the Philippines wanted to get him more involved in his old community. And they asked him to join the International Rotary Club in Manila as a global member, and he did. He then became the Rotary Foundation chair in that club and decided that he would help build a program. And that's what he came to us to talk about. And that's what we have to share with you today, a program to create global community bakeries in the Philippines. As you can see here, it's sponsored by us, that is the Club of Lake County Golden Triangle. It is a joint enterprise of the two clubs, with the club in the Philippines doing by far the lion's share of the work so far. This is that population in the dumps of Manila. People who live there, who rely on scavenging food from these heaps of trash in order to stay alive. And the people who are forced into these communities ask their friends in a foundation I'll talk about in just a second, if they could find some way to provide food for themselves and make money that would allow them to have better lives. And so the project, which is community bakeries, was requested by the people in the community, the women particularly, to be built at two different sites in Manila, two different dump sites, one disused, in partnership with the Upskills Foundation, which is founded by a Rotarian about 20 years ago. And the Upskills Foundation, working with the Rotary clubs, would create these community bakeries. The Upskills Foundation would provide all of the electricity and set up the bakeries, which is within their expertise, in their own secure, hygienic buildings. And the income would go both to the sellers of the products that were made in the bakeries and would be used to purchase new ingredients to help the community move forward. This is pictures of the members of the Upskills Foundation, which was started by Jane Walker more than 20 years ago. She is the Rotarian. And this is a sample of the kind of equipment that would be used in these two bakeries. Because our friend Ray Del Mundo, the Rotarian who is the global member of the club in Manila, but who lives in Lake County and is the Rotary Foundation chair for that Manilan club, he has already raised money from DDF funds from 3 different clubs and cash allotments as well, so that all we need to raise to complete this project is DDF funds of another $3,500. This will provide a total budget of $35,000, which will get these 2 bakeries started and allow the community both to provide food for itself and to provide a ongoing source of income for members of the community. It's very exciting.
Just a comment, this is one where it's essentially mostly funded already by 2 clubs. I think you said, Bill, two of them are in Korea and one is in the Philippines.
That's correct.
And so the remaining funding is a very small part of this. It's one of those projects where our money goes a long way. Lake Buena Vista, Karuna, you're up.
Our total budget, what our grant is about, is the early detection of cancer on wheels. In 3 states of India, 71 clubs who will have access to this van, which will be equipped with mammogram machines and also a private facility within the van where the patients can be examined for any cancers, and a small lab. So that is going to cost us a lot of money, which is $167,695, which is a lot of money, but we are trying our best to raise it, the cash as well as the DDF. We will be contributing at least 50,000 to 52,000 of DDF from our district, and the host district will be contributing 30,000 plus the cash required for it. So that is basically, that is the overall picture of the grant. Who is going to benefit are the people who are living in remote villages and tribal people who have no access to go to any hospital or to doctors, nor do they have money because they are economically challenged and underprivileged. So the early detection is our goal, because the treatment of cancer is free in government hospitals and many of the charitable hospitals in the area. Because all the patients have to present is, they have 3 different kinds of IDs, which is Ayushman card, Aadhaar card, and Ration card. As the dollar value keeps changing during the present times, so this is what our goal is right now. I hope the dollar value stays up, or maybe we won't need that much of DDF.
Karuna, so this is the van, a single van to serve that area?
Actually, it's not actually a van, it is a bus actually, basically. Yeah. And the bus is going to cost us $160,481.60. And we have put a contingency fund of $6,185.03 based on the maintenance, like suddenly a tire bursts or all those things. But it is going to be maintained by a non-profit organization who will be paying for the medical and paramedical staff during the camping, because all the Rotarians in these areas, they hold camps, health camps from time to time, and they are very familiar with how to do it. A non-profit organization who is going to be maintaining the van, like paying the driver, servicing the van, all kinds of maintenance. They are going to be doing that, and they are going to be parking in their own facility, so that, because it has equipment, so it is not stolen.
On your agenda, this one is already in draft form, so you already have a number for
Yes, that? Yes, we have. The number is 22,350.
Right, it's on the agenda.
It is.
Just point out some of these projects you're hearing about are already in draft, and they already have a number, and they're in the process of being finalized.
I'm just waiting for.
You heard from yes. I think Sanjay's club are still in process of getting into the draft system and getting a number. Thank you, Karuna, and I'm sure Karuna is available to give you more information about it.
Yes. Are you proposing that your club is the international sponsor, or you'll be one of the international clubs on the
We are going to be the international sponsor. The host club is going to be in Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. They are the host club.
Thank you.
Let me move on to the next presentation. Logan Schultz has got our last presentation under this category from the Rotary E-Club of Florida. Logan, go ahead.
All right, wonderful. So once again, my name is Logan, and I'm a member of the Rotary E-Club of Florida, and I've been actually collaborating very closely with the Rotary clubs of Punta Gorda, Palmetto, and Inch on this exciting grant.
She's walking outside. Sorry.
You're okay. That started while I was actually living in Haiti as a global health fellow, and currently we have some other clubs within our district, specifically Celebration Club and the E-Club, who are helping support this grant. And I hope, my team has the opportunity to present to one of your clubs maybe sometime this year as well. And before I kind of get into things, I also wanted to begin by saying that we will actually submit this grant this week but we will, begin fundraising for the second year of the project soon, starting this fall. Similar to other kind of grants I think I've heard earlier, we just decided to push it up to this year, given the matching with the Rotary International and things like that. But let me move forward here. So first begin by giving a very quick overview of Haiti's hunger problem. It is one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, and Haiti has been uniquely impacted by food insecurity and hunger, and both COVID-19 and recent political unrest, as you guys might have seen, have only exacerbated this issue even further. And food insecurity has really has a disproportionate impact on its youngest citizens, with an estimated 1 in 5 children in Haiti are actually malnourished, and 1 in 14 unfortunately die before the age of 5, which is just a very shocking number. And these deaths are most often directly or indirectly resulting from malnourishment. So for this grant, our cooperating organization is actually St. Joseph Clinic, which is the clinic where I worked for over a year in 2019 and 2020, and also 2021 by extension. And it's actually the only permanent medical facility serving Tamasik, and has been running continuously since 2006. It operates with certification from MSPP, which is the Haitian Ministry of Health, and it's staffed by an exclusively Haitian task force. And lastly, it has an aggregate of these community healthcare centers in these villages with community healthcare workers, which we use to screen children in these remote areas, and also provide primary care to the region more generally. So our program at the clinic serves clinically identified severely malnourished children in accordance with the Haitian national and international guidelines. And on average, we have about 60 children within the program. This number has actually been increasing in the last couple of months, which are supervised by the program's coordinator and clinic physicians. And families are typically screened and enrolled in the program at the clinic, where they return for follow-up and education. And we also do village visits to reach those people in really remote villages, as well as home visits for those really high-risk children. So this is all some background information before I kind of touch on our community needs assessment and things thereafter. But the main tool we really have in our arsenal for treating malnutrition is called Medica Mamba, which is a ready-to-use therapeutic food, which is designed to provide nutrition to acutely malnourished children. You can see one of our children that was in the program on the right here. This is Jennifer. And it was just remarkable seeing her transition just from the use of this ready-to-use therapeutic food in the life kind of being breathed into her, kind of very similar to, I think, other projects we've heard earlier, with especially like the cleft lip and cleft palate projects. But with this Medica Mamba, parents can actually take it home with them and give it to their children themselves. So long hospital stays are not required, which is pretty unique. And that's really, really good because it eases the burden on an already overwhelmed healthcare system, and really allows those parents to take care of other children and family members at home, or continue to participate in income generating activities to help attenuate poverty in the household. So while I was in Tamasik and kind of collaborating with Rotarians and people at the clinic on this project, we did a community needs assessment. I won't go into too much detail, but in general, we had interviewed 3 different groups within Tamasik, including community members, the stakeholders, as well as healthcare providers. And from the community needs assessment, different themes really emerged as well, and really instructed the writing of our grants. And some of these themes that emerged included inadequate dietary intake and food insecurity, underlying diseases that these children had, barriers to care, specifically the very long distance, to the clinic and to some of these rural outposts, and then very lastly, education. Let me just a slide here. So, really, with all these community needs that we assess within our assessment, we saw that it's very multifaceted issue, so that we really wanted to take a holistic, comprehensive approach while we formulated this grant with the Hinch Rotary Club and the Rotary Clubs in Florida. So our 3 goals, which I'll kind of just touch on in these next couple of slides, include treating the immediate causes of severe malnutrition, helping prevent really those underlying causes of malnourishment, and then lastly, really empowering and educating those caregivers. So I'll just like touch on these in these next couple of slides, and you'll notice each of these goals has these subset of goals for our project. And then each of these goals has
Anna, you want to come with Nana to go?
A monitoring and evaluation component tailored to each specific goal, so that while we, have the project going on, and especially at the end, we can see the impact and how effective our program is while we're doing it. So once again, this first goal is treating severely malnourished children, really using that Medic Mamba and essential medications. Second goal, really focusing on prevention and providing better access to some of these prevention items for these people in these really remote villages, and also providing more training, not only to the clinic staff and the malnutrition director and these healthcare workers in the outside communities, but also improving the education that we can provide to these caretakers and by extension, their family and the wider community to help address this issue. Which brings us really to our segues to our third goal, which is empowering and educating these caregivers. And what we're going to do for this one is provide these formal education classes. And this not only targets those caregivers within the families within the program, but we're trying to extend it to the community members as well. And also trying to reach, some of the males of the family through some agricultural education sessions too, to kind of combat that food insecurity within the household level to improve their crop yields too. And then some additional goals that we're also weaving into our project is really trying to, show that M&E and that our program is effective. So we're going to try to develop an academic component to the project, as well as we want to, just like your projects, like share it with other organizations to show what's working, what's not working, how we can better improve it, how they could potentially start a similar program within their respective countries or regions too, and also expand this to pregnant women. So just to kind of recap, like this is our grant progress. Like I said, we're going to be submitting this week, and then we're going to be also, starting to prepare for our second year and starting to fundraise for our second year. But this past year, what myself and the Rotary Club in Inch and then in Florida did this community need assessment. We formulated this grant with the community members. We had the international sponsor. We found the host sponsor, the Inch Club, and you can see myself actually at the top right here with the members of the Inch Club kind of discussing and formulating this grant. We had the Haiti Task Force endorsement, which is just kind of this Rotary body within Haiti. And then when I was there for a couple of months at the beginning of this year, helping collaborate with community members in Rotary, these are just some pictures from that. So you can see in the black and white, those are members of the Inch Rotary Club. And then we also have MSPP, which is Haitian Ministry of Health here. So I invited the director of the Ministry of Health and the director of malnutrition to the clinic to meet the chief physician myself to kind of talk about this initiative and rolling it out. And it was just a great experience. And, the community really endorses this, and especially that's something that kind of emerged through our community needs assessment too. So this is kind of project timeline. We raised this past year successfully $59,000. And this budget includes some of these things I've listed here, including that Medic Mamba prevention items, some medications, some referrals for those families whom are very far away and just don't have the economic means to receive care, education class materials and structure training and so forth. And, having lived in Haiti for 14 months, just like some of the stories we heard earlier, it's just remarkable seeing the transition from, some of these sick and ill, children, or some, children with other, health problems to, recovering over time. And it's just very heartfelt and just really rewarding experience. So we're very, very excited for this initial inaugural year of it, and also to continue it for a second year. So, going into this next year, we'll be, looking for clubs to present to, and also, if this is something that potentially interests you, or you want myself and some other members of my team that can be here today to talk to your clubs, we'd be more than happy to, and also more than happy to. And as was just said, it's just remarkable being here and hearing about all these other different initiatives. Everyone's just doing such amazing things. It just reminds me of a Haitian proverb, which goes, "Un peu de main fait bagaille par loup," which essentially means, a lot of hands make something not light. So, if we were just trying to do any of these respective projects alone, it'd be very, very challenging. But given the fact we're in a part of this community, you know, a lot of hands together and everyone with this common mission and goal, we can make some very significant impacts in these, you know, families, these individuals, by extension, regions and countries. So thank you so much for your time. And here's my contact information if you'd like to talk to me. And hope everyone has a great rest of your night. And thank you once again.
Many of those items that Logan covered there are things that you will have to be addressing in grants. That is how you scale it up, what's the next step. Those are all issues you'll learn about in the grant process. Thank you very much, Logan. So you're on now, and first one up will be Julia.
So the grant we're working on, and it's in draft format, and we're just about ready to submit. Been a collaboration with Ruth Bowling on this, and it's a Hope and Healing Center that got opened. It launched in March. It's a facility for addiction, and our club, along with 17 other clubs, that's the power of us working and collaborating together can make these projects a reality. So we had 17 clubs participate, donate some of their DDF funding for a total of $19,733 for a total grant, global grant, for $35,519. It's a learning process on going through this. I've learned a lot this year. And we submitted it back in October. The materials were first going to fund items for equipment for the center. It got kicked back because the foundation really wanted us to have, what are the educational, what are the added programs that think bigger. And so we went back and thought bigger, and what we're doing now with the grant is this has added that wraparound approach to help folks with addiction problems, really overcome that. So this grant will help fund projects on here, such as literacy, financial literacy courses, music therapy classes, a lot of books, a lot of journals, and also different types of programs that will really help them through this recovery process. Ruth, do you want to add any more to that? Because I want to keep this short in the essence of time.
Well, again, I just want to say that this is another one of those projects where, Advent Health decides that they want to attack a project and they run smack into Rotary, because every time we try to do good in the world, we realize you guys are already there. So I can't thank you enough, each of you, for being there. And we're so delighted with everything that these clubs have done. And I know Governor Barry and Alex and Julia and Marv and everyone has been so helpful. This is not only providing recovery books, but also yoga for change, music therapy class, financial literacy, a lot of these wraparound services. And we're, again, also grateful to the Seminole Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Lima. And we're thrilled to be able to do a global grant right here at home to help people, especially those who've been hurt by this opioid crisis, because it's just been horrible. So thank you again for being the heroes.
That's better.
That's a little better.
Okay. What I wanted to introduce tonight, but it's not something that we're rolling out at this time, is the concept of multi-club grants, which this district has done in the past. And for the last couple of years, we have not been doing multi-club district grants. And we are going to reintroduce this. We'll do the formal training in January, but this will be an opportunity for clubs to partner and combine their district designated funds, but not for a global grant, but for a district grant. And the value of that is we can do bigger projects with a bigger impact. The challenge, of course, is all of the record keeping and making sure that every club that participates has an active role in the project, not just simply a transfer of DDF to one club that does all the work. That's not what we want. For this to work, each club that participates is going to have to do some of the work themselves. So without going into a lot more detail, we are opening that for discussion and for consideration. And it may be that some projects aren't big enough to be a global grant. in which case the district grant model will work perfectly and can be sized appropriately for the project and not require all of the documentation and all of the rigor that goes along with global grants, but it will still require a good bit of management support. So it will have its challenges. We may only do one per year. We'll have to see in the district if there's interest. We're not going to do probably too many of them at a time, so we don't overwhelm ourselves. I hope you could hear that and understand it. If not, write me and I will explain it to you in further detail. Thank you.
Barry Gaynor had a good suggestion, and I have him on the agenda. This is an idea of Rotarians throughout our area getting together on a public park. This is, I'd say, a germ of an idea now, but it falls into what Alex is talking about, something that we would all work together on. It may be some kind of a district grant, it may be some kind of a direct project, or fall into some other category. Let me call on our district governor, Barry Gaynor.
My overwhelming sense is that we have some tremendous projects and some great ideas here. And there isn't a one that I would say is not worth pursuing. What it also demonstrates is the need for all of us and our members, our members in our clubs and so forth, donating, because we don't generate DDF unless we donate. And that's the key to all these. We can do every single one of these if we get enough people to donate. Alex, I appreciate you and George putting this together tonight. This is a tremendous idea just for everybody to get some ideas about what's going on in the district and what people's thoughts are. It's also one of the great gifts of our district, sharing our DDF with our clubs the way we do. 80% of the district DDF goes back to the individual clubs who earned that DDF. And that means a great deal of input by clubs, and you get to pick what you want to work with. And I think that's an option that most other districts do not have. So I'm grateful for that. Specifically, I will just say I've been talking to some of the Rotary clubs in Seminole County in particular, because Seminole County Board of Commissions has taken over the Rolling Hills Country Club to convert it to a community park. And, I've traveled many places all over this country and some internationally. And I will tell you, every time I see a project is identified with the Rotary wheel, there's a sense of pride. And I think we need to do more of those kinds of things here in our own district. And so my thought was to get the 9 clubs in Seminole County, perhaps Maitland, because there's a lot of overlap there too, to get together and potentially put together maybe a playground or a Rotary pavilion in this park, but something significant, something that will be seen by a lot of people and generate interest in Rotary. And that's my idea for my particular area. But I want to see everybody in this district start to think that way and think about ways we can get the Rotary identity out there, the Rotary brand out there, so that we can get credit for some of the things we do. And it may just mean people say, what's Rotary or who's Rotary? And there will be opportunities to tell our story. So I really don't want to, we don't have any specifics, quite frankly, on this project right now. It's in the very infancy stage. But it's just the kind of thing, the kind of thinking that I want everybody to start using right here in our district.
My daughter's father-in-law up in Canada is in the little area, which used to be an independent town called Dundas, Ontario. Now a suburb. It's been merged into Hamilton, Ontario. There are 3 clubs in Dundas, Ontario. One of those clubs is about the size of a College Park Rotary, or several of your clubs, has about 30 members. They took on the project of building a $2 million pavilion in a public park in Dundas. Now, they didn't raise the $2 million, they didn't give the $2 million, but they were the people in town that got the utility and the city and the province and other contributors. And now that park, the major park, has that pavilion, and it has this giant Rotary clock right in the middle of the pavilion. And I just say all that to concur with Barry, that sometimes we have a a mindset that we have to fit within a fairly small box because, you know, a global grant's got to be $30,000, so we'll fit within the $30,000 box. If somebody else has another box and they'll fit us into a $50,000 box or a $75,000 box. That little club, no, same size as my club, raised $2 million. And that's a fantastic project, and it's a fantastic part of that community. So I think, Barry, you're on the right track here. And, you know, like I said, and we've already said this from the beginning, Benjamin, when he goes a project in Columbia, he gets somebody to put up a third of the money, private non-Rotarian interest in doing a project. So that's where Rotary is probably best, is where we're bringing in our contacts and our partners and other people to help us in these projects. We cannot do everything we want to do with just our small amount of DDF. We have to have partners all over the world.
And we have to get more DDF.
And we have to get more DDF. That's a good point. Questions and answers. First of all, Sanjay, your hand's up.
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate Alex on setting up a folder in the foundation files for all the proposals he gets from various clubs in the world. And I think that's a great move. We need to kind of talk a little bit about it so everybody can go to those folders to look for ideas. Clubs around the world have worked up a project at the ground level, and community needs assessment is all done, and they're just looking for an international sponsor. So it's a great resource. Alex, congratulations for setting it up.
Sanjay, thank you. I want to make sure everybody knows that is available on the DAC-DB. So you don't need to go to Rotary.org. You just stay within our district. You go to the folder for foundation documents, and there's a subfolder for these project invitations, I call it. Our district governors each year get project invitations from around the world, probably from meetings they have when they're at International Assembly and just different foundation chairs and district governors reaching out on behalf of their district with good project ideas or things that they really want to see happen. Sometimes they're outside of our realm in terms of what we could probably manage, but we get the word out, and perhaps there is some resonance. Maybe there's an individual in a club that can raise cash money. It doesn't have to come from DDF. We've already said that several times tonight. I know you on Project Sanjay were able to raise money from the Central Florida Foundation to bring in some of the thermometers. So the money didn't have to come from DDF necessarily, although that is a wonderful thing because it gets matched. So that's why we like DDF so much. But there are a lot of ways, like George said, to skin a cat. However, we need to raise that money, friends, family, other nonprofits that want to support. It's surprising what can happen when you get out there and ask.
Other questions or comments? Just raise your physical hand. I'm not too good on the other hand. Karuna, you have a comment?
Yeah, I actually was wondering that the Haiti project, because it involves the government organizations and international organizations, and if it is done on a continuous basis every year, is it possible to do it as a mega grant like they did in Washington Club did for malaria in a country?
We had a meeting about that, and turns out the head of that club is a former classmate of mine 50 years ago at Harvard Business School. Isn't that funny? What Karuna is talking about is the new project in Rotary called Programs of Scale. And I would invite any of you to kind of spend an afternoon looking at what Programs of Scale. These are projects that are funded by up to $2 million. And they are of the idea of being scalable into a area-wide or even a country-wide project. So I'm not sure that, Logan, that you're there yet on yours, but I'd encourage you all to take a look at that. if you're looking for programs for your club, you just got about 8 or 10 good programs. So reach out to these people that have programs and have projects. They're happy to talk to you about them. They've already made their presentation here, so you've already seen the preview.